Good morning. Hope everyone is doing well and aren't as amazed as I am that we're coming into Thanksgiving week. It's been crazy fast in coming, at least in my opinion. On the screen, you're going to see the amounts of fabric that you're going to need for the block we're going to do today. It's called the Winter Star. And so if you would like to grab a pencil and paper and write those down, that would be wonderful. And I will just talk for a few minutes while you get a chance to copy those amounts down for today. Also, Kyla, good morning. Welcome. And that way this will give you a few minutes. This week I've been working on a couple of things that I tend to avoid if I can, and that's why I have a stack of unquilted tops in a closet, and which is unfortunate because I need to, get them quilted or do it myself. So this week I decided to tackle one, and I've been working on that. That, for whatever reason, and it's probably a mindset, is that I find it difficult to quilt tops. I don't know why that is a stick for me, but it is, and I don't enjoy it, and it seems like a very complicated process to me. So I've tackled that this week, and again, for those who are just popping in, I have amounts of fabric that you will need for the block that we're making today on the screen. If you would like to copy those down right now, that would be great. I'm just kind of talking, so it gives you a few minutes to do that, and we'll go back through some of that again. Also, on Monday, there will be available a pattern, so to speak, with these amounts and a picture of the block and stuff for you to download. So if you don't want to download this right now or write it down, you will be able to do that on Monday. So on the, from the quilt show. So that will be available. And when you look at it on YouTube or go back and check out the Facebook replay. So either way, it'll be available on Monday, or you can copy this down right now on the screen. Good morning, everybody. We've got people from all over. Good morning, Bonnie and Cheryl, Marietta, Pam, Rebecca, Marilyn, Sherry, Judy, and so I saw that Kristen just put up on Monday they will be available here. She's got a link there, so you might want to pop that in if you want to make this. And yes, Sherry asked if anyone's doing the block of the year for next year. I have a couple of pictures of that I'm going to show you in just a minute. And it's really pretty. It looks like a lot of fun, and so I hope that some of you tackle that one for this year, because it certainly is pretty. So we do have people from pretty much everywhere. I love it. Good morning. Hopefully you're coming into, those of you who are in the United States are coming into Thanksgiving week, and I just wish you a blessed time with your family if you get the chance to come together. So I'm still in the mode of thinking about and working on getting things together with my daughter for her wedding in January, which we are also very excited about. And it's raining here today, which is a good thing. When California gets rain, as long as it's not, huge amounts all at once, so that we have the flooding and all of that kind of stuff. So Anyway, I am going to start removing this from the screen so we can get going on this. And know again that if you're just coming on, that this will be available by the link that Kristen put up. And towards the end of my time here, I might ask her to put that up one more time towards the end so that you can be able to grab that on Monday. So for A, you'll need 4 3 3/4 inch squares, and B is 4 2 by 3 1/4 inch rectangles. C is 4 2-inch squares or 2 by 8 inch strips, and I would go for the strips if I were you, and when we're working on it you'll see that. And D is 4 3 3/4 inch squares. E is 4 1 3/4 inch squares or 1 3/4 inch by 8 inch strip, and again I'd go for the strip. F is 1 1/2 inch square. G is 4 3 3/4 inch squares. H is 4 1/2 by 6 inch rectangles. And the background fabric is A, B, C, and H from what I just had listed. The dark red fabric is D, E, and F, and the medium fabric is G. So let me show you a picture of the block. I call this the Winter Star. I really don't know what its name is. I have looked and found, different names for it, but I love it. And I think the reason that I have gone back to this block a number of times is I'm a very big fan, and I think my favorite block of all time is the Lemoyne Star. And this just looks like the Lemoyne Star broken up a little bit. And so anyway, so this is a favorite of mine. I have made it into a couple of different quilts. And so on Monday, you will have the placement A, B, C, D, E, F, and G on the pattern, and you will also have the amounts. So anyway, this is the block we're making today. All right. And anyway, that will come up with that. And then there is, let me see what I have here. Here is the block of the month. Nope, that is not the block of the month. Let's get rid of that. That's not it either. Well, my goodness, I don't know what happened to it. I will find it here in a little bit, but the block of the month is called something petal, and I'm not sure what happened to my picture, but let me see if I can locate it. There it is. It's a little big on there. So there is the block of the month for the quilt show for this next coming year. And you can see just how pretty it is. And look at all the fabrics you get to use, and there will be a kit for it. And I just think it's Pick a Petal, and is what the name of it is. Thank you, Kyla. I appreciate it. Things just fall out of my head when I'm trying to think of two things at once. I think I've mentioned it before. I can't seem to walk and chew gum at the same time. So anyway, so that will be the block of the month. Take a look at that. And let's get started. I'm going to bring you down. I have made half of my block already. And these are the fabrics that I chose. And if you didn't buy their little kit to make this, because once all these blocks are done and completed before Christmas, it would make a wonderful little sampler quilt, I think. And you can add all these to it, or if you're making separate projects or picking and choosing what you'd like to do, or just putting them in your toolbox for a future event. So here is the top half of this, and I want to work through one of the blocks with you and add to that so we can complete this together. So I want to make sure that you pay attention to the pattern if you download it on Monday, that in the corner is all the blocks, and you'll see that they need to be turned. This section right here, this 3-inch block that you're going to be making, will be turned at each of the 4 corners. So this is E right here, and this is C, and this rectangle is the B rectangle. I've called this my background fabric. This is my dark red, and this is my medium red. And then, so these colors here are my dark red. This one is a D, and this one is an A. And, and then this here are the G's. And again, H, and then the center little block, that 1.5-inch square that you have, is F. So you'll have all of that again when you copy that down. And if you have any questions as we go, please feel free to ask. The size of the block is it's a 12-inch block, and this fabric is just so fun. So I'm sure they still have it in the store, and please. And again, the finished size of the block is 12 inches. So, and each of these square components are, I think they come down to 2 3/4 when they're completed. I'll double check that, but I think that's what they are, because, and it would help if I turn the ruler the right way. Yes, 2 3/4 is the finished size of these blocks, and this finished size, as you can see, is 1 inch. So that's what finishes there on that. But the whole block itself is 12 inches. All right, so let's get started with, I'm going to move this to the side for just a second. And we're going to start with the G and the A, one of each of those squares to make right here. I've already got the other 2 completed, and I've made a partial section for the last block that I'm making. Okay, so that'll go that direction when we get to that. So let's pop over to the sewing machine. And I'm going to be using my Sew Steady mat to line things up with. And I'm putting this point at the edge of my presser foot. And I'm lining the bottom up on my 1/4-inch line, which is right out here. So I know it's a little bit outside of the camera at this moment, but in a second you'll see it come into play. So I've got that, and I'm going to start sewing. And now I'm watching at the bottom, and I'm keeping my point on that 1/4-inch line. And so I didn't have to take the time to mark these. Because I'm using the mat, and I'm finding that this mat really comes out, if you can keep it on running where it's supposed to on this mat and keeping the point there. And I must have moved it a little bit. It helps if you pin, then it doesn't move on you. And I just keep that point right there on that 1/4 inch, and I'm not even looking where the needle is or under the foot plate. I'm really working at keeping that point on that 1/4 inch line. But again, if you prefer to mark it, and it gives you a little bit more ease of mind, go for it. All right, so now we're gonna take our, and of course use your ruler if you prefer. I live dangerously sometimes. Again, pressure seams in, and because you're working with bias, and if you push that iron around, you're going to get those curves on the side of your half square triangle, and I don't particularly want those because it just messes up. And now I'm going to work at squaring these up, and truly if you're sewing directly, there's not really much squaring up that needs to be done, but they square up to be 3 1/4. All right, and I am putting, so that I have a little bit just shaving around the outside edge, and I'm keeping my 45-degree angle right along my seam line. All right. And now I want to put directly my 3 1/4 inch line at the bottom, along the side, and keeping it on that 45-degree angle. And again, you're pretty close to having it exactly what it needs to be to get your 3 1/4 inch. So I'm going to do the same thing again here. And I've just got, a shaving 45-degree line. And it's really nice when you're cutting this. I just can't say enough good about these Quilter Select rulers and how well they keep everything staying solidly in place, especially when you're trimming like this. That is so important. All right, so now I've got those blocks, and I want to finish this side of my block. So I have already made this portion of that, and this is going to be on the bottom right hand side of my block. So it's going to go down in this corner. So I want to keep my, let me bring that up a little bit. I want to keep my red square in that right hand to the bottom of the right hand corner of that. So I'm going to put that there, and I need my dark and my light down here like this. All right. And then I have, I think, maybe I did the opposite. I did. That is for the other side. So let me get the top of this one. So I have the dark one and the light, and then I have this like that. Okay, so we're going to make this bottom right hand block right there. Okay, And let's get that accomplished. And, you know, I think the template will be helpful for you if you like this block as much as I do and want to include it in your sampler. And then I'm going to put these two together. All right, then pressing that, and I'll press, you know, the top to the left, and I, you know, want to just press that seam again, and not really iron, but press. And so this one I want to press to the left side. So setting my threads. Just hitting the, you know, the seam line and pressing it. And putting it that way. And now sewing these two together. And talk about my pinning again. I pin a little different than I think most. But I like to go 1/8 of an inch on the right side at the top and come down 1/8 of an inch on the left side. The reason I do this is so that when I'm sewing across, I can stitch in and hit into the where it's butted up against each other. And once I do that, then I can pull the pin, and I don't have to worry about that movement that happens and that sometimes gets the you know, the seam not quite butted up when it's finished. So as you can see, I'm coming up on that area, and I take it slow because I just want that one stitch in before I, you know, because you really do not want to hit the pins or sew over them, because it only takes one time for a pin to get broken in your machine. And it is very costly to get that fixed. All right. And I find that, you know, I get just better result for myself when I pin in that fashion. So, all right. So now I'm going to press this. Again, just touching the seam line with my iron. All right, and now I have that bottom right hand corner completed. I'm going to put that to the side. I have the top part of the second one, and where did my other... I have another block here somewhere. You know, how do I keep losing them? I'm not sure I understand my ability to lose a block that was just laying in front of me. How is this possible? But I think I have. And I honestly don't see it anywhere. So this could be a bit of a problem of finishing up my other block. Because I need that one that I just made, that dark one, and you saw me make it, and it has poofed and it's not stuck to my clothes that I can see. Well, that is bizarre because it truly is not on the floor, not stuck to me, doesn't seem to be on my shelf, my papers. So let me talk about the other part of it, and maybe it'll just reappear somewhere along the way. So when I said earlier to do the strips, that 1 3/4 and that 2-inch strip that were in the directions, I just sewed them together in an 8-inch strip and then cut the 4 that I needed at 1 3/4. And that gave me the portion of the blocks that is down here. And then you're going to sew this, these two pieces together. Then and between the two, you're going to sew your 6-inch strip, your 1.5 by 6-inch strip here, with your 2 blocks on each side, and those will be connected on the bottom. So let's go ahead and remember that the blocks have to be in the bottom corner. So this is my bottom left-hand side of the block. And I'm going to put it this way so I can sew it like that. All right. So the bottom left-hand block is sewn with the dark red in the bottom. We'll put these two together, the 2-inch and the 1 3/4 inch. And if you have the Sew Steady mat or you struggle with a 1/4 inch seam, I will say that, leaving your fabric right along the edge of this dotted 1/4 inch line on either side that you go works wonderfully for getting a perfect 1/4 inch seam. It really does come out to be a perfect 1/4 inch every time. So I'm going to press that seam again. Just hit the edge so it's nice and flat. And, well, I have the top part of this. I think I sewed that opposite of what it needed to be, so. I'm taking one more look here on the floor and around just to see if I can locate that piece. So we'll see here. All right. So I've got the bottom, those two. Aha! It has reappeared. Yay! And we're going to get this here, and we are going to get that there. All right, I found it. It was hiding behind my trash can. All right, so now we're going to put these two together. And let me pop over here. And these two. Thank you for bearing with me on that. So I'm going to set my seam, press that in, do that again, except I'm going to go the opposite direction this time. You know, every time, you know, I say today I'm not going to have any mistakes, I'm not going to mess up, so these people know that I actually can sew. And I seem to do it every week, so I'm going to just give up. You're going to see mistakes probably every week. So top right to bottom left across that, as opposed to a pin on each side that I pull out too soon, which can push this seam line over, and I can get so top right to the left, I can sew up to that seam line, so that if, you know, we're two pins on either side, you pull that out, and then before you get to it, and it has time to push the fabric, so that it's not quite butted up the way I'd like it to be butted up for that. All right. So again, I come up on that slowly. I'm right at that seam line, pulling my pin, and so it's already, you know, put in place by the thread that's gone into it. Alrighty. And then I want to press this. Alright, so now I have my two bottom pieces right there. At this point I want to sew my 6.5 inch, or my 2 by 6 inch strip through the middle. Get that lined up. Here it can be helpful, depending on how you sew, to put a pin at this point on the end so it doesn't move on you. And I'm pressing this to the inside, and then I want to put the other side on. Sometimes that flips up on me, and I just want to make sure it stays flat. Hopefully this isn't too boring, just sitting and watching me sew. Alright, setting my seams, making sure that's all set the way it should be. And then I'm going to press this again in. And now we put the two sides together. So top half and bottom half together, and I want to butt these seams up to each other and get those pinned. Top right, 1/8 of an inch on the top right to 1/8 of an inch on the bottom left, and butting this one up. Again, 1/8 of an inch top right to 1/8 of an inch bottom left. And here I am going to pin this because, you know, once I get over 6 inches, I really like to pin the edge of that so that it just stays in place and I don't have to necessarily worry about that. All right. And even on the 6 inch, you know, sometimes it wants to pull where the bulk of the seam is, and just watch for that. And I'm coming up on that, and I can take my 1 stitch over that seam line, and I can do it again without hitting the needle. And right there at the bulk again where the seam comes in, it wants to move a tad, so let's get that in place. And you know, each machine works a little bit differently and responds differently, so you have to, you know, get to know your machine and what it does, and where it pulls and where things go differently. And once you learn that, you know, all of that, those little things help make getting again, pushing the seam in. And you have my winter star, is what I'm going to call it today. I don't really know what the exact name of it is, but I love it because it reminds me of the Lemoyne star. So again, the top 4 corners, make sure that you get those corrected on that. You know, dark and light color. And if you prefer, go ahead and make these the same color as those if you would prefer that. I just thought it added a little bit more interest today with the fabrics being different on that. Now, what do I do with this? Well, if you only want to make 1 block, you could make this into a nice throw pillow for your couch, your bed, a chair, whatever. You could make 4 of these and have about, I think it's around 60 inches in length of a table runner. If you wanted it a little bit longer, a little bit wider than 12 inches, you could put a very thin, you know, border around the blocks and add one of these, you know, fabrics or a very different fabric for the border on your table runner. Again, you could put some type of border on it, make a placemat. There's a number of things, or you can keep it and put it into your sampler quilt, or make a whole quilt of just this block, possibly with a joining block. If you haven't seen the Quilt Builder card decks from the Quilt Show, you might check those out today, and they could give you another block. You could find a block that you appreciate and make a whole winter quilt out of this, which I think would absolutely be lovely on that. So again, on Monday, you will have a PDF file that you can download with the picture of the block and the amounts of fabric and stuff on that, if this is something that intrigues you and you would like to make. All right, let me see if there's any questions here, and then I've got a couple of things that I want to tell you. Yeah, Kyla, they do find their way home eventually. Is there a pattern for this block? Yes. Surely it will be on the link that Kristen put up. Kristen, if you could put that link up one more time, that would be great here towards the end. Or just scroll back up and you can find that link. Yes, it wasn't in the trash can. It was behind it. A design board, I do have a design wall, but it's not right here by my machine. I have a very small room, and so, but I could make a small one to sit here on the side. The cutting mat, it's not really a cutting mat under the needle. It is a I'm going to say plastic, but it's a mat. You can't cut on it, but it is a wonderful tool. It's called the Sew Steady mat, and you can pick that up at on the quilt show. And where will we be able to find the pattern? On the link or on the quilt show under Saturday Sampler? Okay. I'm trying to find the tree one. I cannot find it. There really was no pattern because you made your own. If you go back and watch the show, Judy, you'll find that I simply drew and showed you how to draw whatever size of tree that you wanted and how to do that. And so Kristen did put it up again Monday here, so there is a link right there. And the block again is a 12-inch block. And I want to show you, I have made a number of these. This was the tree block, and this is a 4-inch one. And I made it as coasters and gave quite a few away to friends. And I simply drew it myself. I gave myself an inch for the bottom. And then I found the center of the top, drew my angles down on each side, and then I just simply drew lines and paper pieced that in. And that's what you would do for putting that together. But I thought I'd show you that I had made a number of these from that block from last time, as well as putting it into a tree block. So this is the block for this week, the Winter Star. Get the pattern on the link that Kristen put up. And all right, and I think that's all the questions. Hopefully I didn't miss anyone. And each of you have an absolute wonderful Thanksgiving for those of you who will be celebrating that with family and friends this week. And for those who don't have Thanksgiving coming up this week, just have a great week. And for those who live in the same area that I do here in Northern California, enjoy the rain. It's kind of lovely. And I learned a Scottish term this week, and I think that I like this term. It's called Herkle Durkle, and it means lounging around in bed in the morning instead of jumping right up and getting going. And so if you get to Herkle Durkle anytime in the next week, just enjoy that too. And I will see you next week with a new block and new instructions for that block that we can add to it. Of some are my favorites, and others are just blocks that I think you might enjoy putting into your sampler. So have a great week, and I'll see you not next Saturday, but the Saturday afterwards, because I'm going to take the Thanksgiving to spend with some family. So thank you.